your first podcast of the year?
So this is the first one of any sort of substance. The last one was just like best and worst draft picks of last year.
Oh, okay.
Last year, which is just, it's always a funny one to start with.
Yeah, I'll have to watch that one. I must admit.
Yeah, we'll sit there.
Usually I'm involved in that quite heavily.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. No, that's good. It's it. Yeah, I'm glad people watch it because otherwise it's like, it's not really worth doing, I suppose. But
Yeah, no, it's good watch, especially mostly in the season I watch it.
yeah.
Outside the season, I must admit I'm less
So I get
active, but
yeah. I mean, during the season, it's sort of you want to hear what you guys got to say about your team, I guess. So.
We're good?
We're good.
Because we are live. Let me just send the link so everyone else can see it.
Hello YouTube.
Hello YouTube, indeed.
I'm just sending the link to our many followers and fans tuning in from around the world.
Indeed.
Okay, so let's get a crack.
Palace lost to fucking Sheffield United.
What was the score?
You're joking.
What was it? 1-0 again?
1-0.
Yeah.
That's
Did Ravel Morrison play? Just out of a fancy perspective.
We're starting with Fantasy PL, everyone.
Yeah.
We have a viewer.
That's probably Ollie. Hello Ollie.
I'll find out.
Alright, anyway,
Yeah.
because hello and welcome to another episode of the LOC Report. I am joined by my esteemed co-host as always, Chris Leach, but we also have another guest in Coach Merritt. His one pre-season appearance of the year is being chalked off today, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going, fellas?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Good.
Nice.
I think this may be the first time we've had another guest on the podcast since we've been in this studio.
Yeah.
Otherwise known as my living room.
Yeah, the answer is yes, it is.
We've got a doozy of an episode for you today because being that we started the podcast series quite late this year, Chris, we had to condense quite a lot, and given that the division line event was late, which we did today, more on that in a future episode.
Yep.
But today we have for you the 2018 season review. The last time we'll be looking back at 2018 after we did the best and worst draft picks last week, of which I'm afraid to say it, Phil, quite a few of yours came up on the worst.
I'm yet to watch it, but I will.
Quite a lot of Pats came up in the early rounds.
Yes.
So-
What did we go with the best and worst in the end?
Patrick Mahomes was the best
Yeah.
in the 14th round, bottom of on to on that one. And then worst, well, take your pick, there's quite a few.
There was quite a few. Go back and watch the episode if you haven't.
Yes,
We did pick. So we've got the 2018 season review, and that's the last time we'll be looking at 2018 on the podcast because we will go straight to 2019 after that in part 2 of today's episode with the AGM recap, which happened back in May now, and Phil didn't attend, so you'll have some live reaction.
I know nothing about what happened,
No.
so
That's it. Phil's going to be amazed. This is going to blow his mind.
But we'll get to the league news straight away, and as I said, we have just had the division review. We won't reveal anything as of now. We'll leave that. I believe it is next week's episode. It is indeed, which is going to be an action-packed episode for you. But good day, chaps. Good day. Good.
That's it. Yeah, really good day. Really good day. Just had a good crack today. So.
yeah, Ollie did a good job.
Yeah, I agree. I
What's the
did.
drive?
£3 last year.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
As was the year before.
I remember-
Do you think pennants and trophies grow on trees?
That's
No.
That's it.
Sound like the
No,
government.
that's it. Yeah.
I remember in the good old days when it was like £1.
That's it. We didn't have all of this though. Didn't have all this
No, it's
organisation.
true, it's
That's
true.
it.
No, we've evolved. So get your subs in. Pat
Our income's also grown.
Expansion of the league.
It'd be a tenner in 10 years' time.
Once we leave the EU, it's going to be a tenner.
Carrots wouldn't be worth anything. It'd be £1 million. That's it. So anyway,
As inflation goes up.
enough of that. Enough of that.
Yes,
That's
enough
it.
of that. Go to the Brexit podcast for that
That's
stuff.
it,
And the draft, of course, it is on Sunday, the 1st of September. I think it will be in the morning. We have just confirmed the time. Meet at 11 a.m. and we now have a confirmed location due to unfortunate delayed works on the extension and conservatory. We will be at the offices again.
The
Much to your
offices are
delight.
great.
Yeah, I love being at the office.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Best
It
views.
feels like a proper draft room.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we won't have a few members there, as we found out today at the event. Ross won't be there. To be fair, it is Jenny's birthday, so
Yeah,
I think we should give him
You
a
can
break
see why.
there.
Yeah. So.
She was very. I think she was actually going to let him, but something must have come up or whatever. So that's fine. And Viv's going to be in Alaska, which again, poor effort on his part for not planning around that. If you ask me,
exactly
you know, we've had that in the calendar for a while.
Take out the opportunity. Yes,
Alaska, LSE draft.
That's it. I know what I'd go for.
Yeah. But no, it's
LSE draft in Alaska. Yes.
The best of both worlds. And yeah, who knows if Nigel will be there? I have delivered a second message today, so
well, if not, we could be team drafting 2 teams there. So
Three teams.
3 teams. Oh, Ross isn't there as well.
Yeah.
3 teams. Well,
And, it's going to be. It's going to.
I'll tell you what, the mock draft pod that we do just the week before the actual draft itself should be good.
Yeah, if we don't get it right this year, we're never going to get it right, are we? And yeah, I think Ollie's going to be maybe not Skyping in, but he'll be following along and delivering his picks in. Ben and Ollie Gardner will almost certainly be Skyping in as well, so we'll actually have some space in the room for once. It might be quite a pleasant room instead of hot and sweaty after.
Lovely.
But yeah, it's going to be good. In terms of league news, I can't think of anything else. You guys have anything?
There is no league news, literally none this week, because you know no one's dropped out. There's nothing really to say.
Indeed.
Apart from that, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, if you're watching live, which we have one viewer, I assume that's you, Ollie. Hello. Please do comment on the YouTube chat, which should come up in front of me here, so we can interact.
Is it me or is your logo throbbing?
Yeah.
It's not just you. I don't know, dear viewers, if you would look closely at Ixan's logo right there, to us it looks like it's throbbing. Now, we've had a long day. It could just be us.
No, I think
Tupfar's logo's throbbing too.
Yeah.
Which is
that's a bit more concerning. We may need to blur that out
as
the episode goes on. I saw a car that had that on their license plate the other day, the logo.
Oh yeah. It is an Italian clothing company.
I thought it was German.
I've got it.
Outstanding. He's actually wearing
it.
Please walk up to the camera so everyone can see.
There you go. My logo is on the front. And I'm about to have a copyright infringement notice.
Yeah, on my
some of the things I've said earlier, I've probably been taken to court, you know.
Yeah.
The lawyers of Cream Hunt.
I'm not making money out of this YouTube video, Nathan, otherwise we're in trouble.
No, only one person watches.
I think my other channel is monetized, so this is purely for free.
Okay.
Good. It's all for love.
Yeah.
The blog, however, I think I may get. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so 2018 review. So, how do you want to do this first? Do you want to go through team by team, worst first? I think that's what we usually do.
Yeah,
Chris.
absolutely. I think that's what we usually do. Yes.
Okay. So we'll start off with Pakistan then. So we can see Pakistan right there. Maybe if we can also bring up. I can't find it. It's okay. We'll just talk about the 2018 review. So Pakistan 2-12. In fact, I'll bring it up on my phone while we do this, and record would be helpful. 2-12 year for Pakistan. Now I believe Pat made the playoffs the year before this, so it is a bit of a disappointing one. We'll look at the schedule itself, but we know from last week's episode, Pat did have a poor draft. Yeah. And that's quite out of character for him, isn't it? He's usually been a pretty good drafter, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, he normally starts the season well. I think he got caught on the hop last year. Didn't take a running back till like round 5. When he did take a running back, it was Shady McCoy. And
oh no! Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah, in the awful Bills offense, and then got wrecked. Subsequently, got wrecked across the course of the year. You know, so his numbers, however, do reflect that. So you know. I think that yeah, Pat had the down year that we all have in year 3 and 4.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Pat, as you said, like the first couple of rounds didn't go very well, and he sort of panicked. It spooked him. He made some rather interesting.
We said Sean McCoy in the first round. Rob Gronkowski in the second round wasn't off to a great start. And we'll take a look at his team, and when we get to it in the end as well. Bear with me, I've just brought up his record from the season before here.
Went big, but did not go home.
No, certainly not. So Pakistan, where are you on here? You are there. So yes, 9-5 years prior to last year's 2-12 season. By far the worst of his career, 5-9 in his inaugural season. So yeah, very very poor year, like you say, low points forward, and not a lot of points against. Typically you see teams get piled on, certainly not scoring out helps, but yes, he doesn't even have that excuse. So
no.
No.
And expect from a LSE outfit.
No.
We always said, Chris, at least previously, 90 points is pretty much the golden standard. 90 to 100 for giving yourself a reasonable shot of winning a week, and
100%.
Pat didn't barely scrape 90 in week 4. And indeed, the first 7 weeks he only had 2 weeks over 90. Didn't have a week over 100 till he got to week 8. And he got a bit better in the second half of the season, you can see that, but obviously by that point it was far too late. So just a difficult year around for Pat, and really his 2 wins came in the middle here as well, so it could have been, that one was a bit of a close one. He had a good week here against my team, but yeah, quite a struggle last year for Pat. And if we take a look at his team, final team of the season on here, I'll try and bring up the draft results as well, so we can just take a quick look at what went wrong with that. There we go. This is the best part about doing the podcast the way we do it now, isn't it? Don't you agree, Gibbs?
You can see it. You can see it before we even tell you.
So yeah, he had Antonio Brown in the first round, which was okay, but Gronkowski, McCoy, Cooper was a large part of why he got better in the second half of the season, but a large reason why he was bad in the first half. Dion Lewis was a flop. Tevin Coleman was okay. Johnson was good until he got injured. Watkins was a bit of a flop, as was Stafford. Anderson was okay, and then you don't expect a lot of impact in the backgrounds here, but there's not a lot to speak of in the terms of good for Pakistan. And indeed, if we look at the final team, so Lamar Jackson obviously comes in over Matthew Stafford. To be fair, the nucleus is pretty much there. It's just the nucleus wasn't great. I think it's
you get 84 points yield off your second round pick as well, which is not great. Antonio Brown went big and went for numbers that you'd expect. But other than that, I mean, I said nothing really sets the world alight. Problems at QB. So you look at like guys like Matthew Stafford, who, to be quite honest with you, in reality is a serviceable QB, but in fantasy terms he turns the ball over too much.
Not much offense there on that Detroit team either.
No,
is there, really?
It's in the end. And if we scroll down a little bit more, that's it.
Not much to speak.
There's not a lot to speak of at all. So. That's it. One of those years where nothing really works out, and a little bit out of character. But hey, at least this year the only way is up. So.
Indeed. Speaking of the only way is up, Gridiron Gang, my team are in 11th place, a place that I have not been familiar with for a fair few seasons now, it's fair to say. So my last non-winning season, it's 2016 6-8, but this is my worst record in fact since 2012 when I had 3-11 season and a 4-10 season after that. But in the last few years, I went 8-6 from 14 to 15 and 9-5 in 2017, making the playoffs. Like Pat, my team crumbled last year as well.
Yeah.
And we can see here, yes, points forward were a problem, but I was also the only team, only team other than Tom to concede more than 1,500 points, and I indeed had the highest in nearly 1,600 points. So scoring was an issue, but I definitely got piled on, which certainly compounded the issue. Gridiron Gang's schedule, let's take a look here. So we can see it was quite a positive start, in fact, and lost quite a few close ones. This week 2 was close. The other two, the other teams I played, just had a great week, and then you can see where the problems started coming in week 5. It was. We'll see in a second the difference between my drafted team and my actual team. Injuries really crippled me over that stretch. And again, near the end, aside from that spotty week 13, I had a pretty good run from 10 to 14, but a bit of a lost season there, as you can see there. And the scores against only once in the first 10 weeks did I have less than 100 points conceded on me, and then there was a few high 90s there down the stretch. So pretty difficult to win when you're facing that, it's fair to say.
I think it's definitely fair to say. Now, you did suffer from a toxic mix of having a poor offensive score.
Yeah.
By not even being able to defend against that, but even then, some of those scores that you've been conceding are, difficult to beat anyway. Especially when you get into the 120s.
Yeah, I think like the first couple of games you had as well were tough matchups.
Yeah, if we go back to that quickly, so we had Ross, not necessarily a tough matchup, but his team was okay. But Badetne's Bare Necessities, ADRZ, the Dream Team, Bare Necessities again, and your team was really good in the first half of last season, which we'll get to later. So it was a tough opening slate, which...
As soon as you get those losses under the belt at the start of the season, you're always...
Exactly, pass the pressure.
Pat got only 2 wins against you, so I think the
no, he did not. He got one of them. I got one back.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Well, that's it.
Giving to each other.
And if we look at the draft for Nat, it was meant to be my bell cow, and he was the bell cow of my physio table, as it turned out. Jordan Howard was okay, but probably didn't live up to the round 2. No. Hilton was good. Miller... Miller. Did nothing, well, next to nothing for me for how long till I kept him. 50 points.
As soon as Nate makes a trade to me, it always works out for me.
Lamar Miller is the Amari Cooper of the LOC.
Yeah.
Indeed. Gonna go there.
Jarvis Landry was serviceable, I would say, and then there's not really much to speak of. Kenny Stills had a few good weeks. Ben Roethlisberger was pretty good for me. Matt Breda really came up trumps for me. And
although you dropped them,
Stephen Gostkowski was my season-long starter. And if we look at the final team I finished with, as I said, Roethlisberger was a good for me. Fournette made it back by the end, but
not great.
Like that legendary Jacksonville offense.
Indeed. So I had to wheel and deal as I usually do, and you can see there's a lot of names on the bench that look familiar there, but. Rough season for me.
Yeah, definitely. I say when you don't get the yield of your first round pick.
Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah,
that's why you lose it.
Absolutely is. Yes, right, exactly that. That's certainly where you lose a season. Or the foundations of a good season anyway. I think when you lose a season, if you don't adapt to the conditions throughout the course of the year and don't play the waivers personally, but
and funny you should say that. We know that I am renowned for playing the waivers, and we can take a look right here at the amount of moves I did make, as I often do. 61 moves in total, consisting of one trade. It certainly wasn't for a want of trying.
No, it's right. You know where you're going. It could have been a damn sight worse if you hadn't, maybe. So, I think again, not great. But when you can see that many points, you expect to lose, lose big, because as we'll see later on, there are teams who scored around the same sort of offensive points, but didn't concede quite as many. And the should we say the
this one right here
the records? Yes, exactly.
Which we'll come back to in a little bit, because next we're going on to Ross's team, who part of the best part of 2018. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention this in the 2018 review. Was Ross's team names throughout the year. It was very good. Quite a highlight, deservedly winning the Ross Non-Comedy Award for comedy. We won't list them out, but if you go back through the Facebook chat or
I'm so pleased that we did that.
6-8 season for Ross. Pretty good, I guess, in Ross's terms. That's more or less where he is. Let me just bring up Ross's record right here. So his first 2 years of the league in 2009-2010, one could forget he was a founding team before he retired. 6-7-1 and 6-8, and then since returning he's been 6-8, 7-7, 4-10 in 2017, and of course 6-7, 6-8 last year. So 6-8 is a familiar number for us. Is basically what I'm saying. And you can see there the points, and the points against pretty good too. If we look at Ross's schedule, right here. He had some really... He was the definition of a boom and bust team last week, which you expect, because Ross's draft technique, how would you describe it, Phil?
Random. A bit like me, but even more so. I think he doesn't put too much research in, let's just say.
Unique
indeed. And his roster management through the season as well could be
not great.
Borderline neglectful, I think is how I would describe it.
No trading. That's it.
I'll bring up the transactions again in a second. But you can see the opening stanza was, there was some really good weeks in there. He lost these two here, perhaps unfortunate to come up against Tom's Tyrants in that week. But the struggles really were highlighted in weeks 8 and 9, and then he actually had a really nice run from weeks 10 to 14, apart from week 13, but just got outscored by some better teams. So 6-8, I think that's a good 6-8. Would you say, Chris? Given,
I think bearing in mind, yes, that's it. Yeah, the lack of possibly, lack of actually coaching the team throughout the year, sure. I think that a lot of people get an awful lot less when they do an awful lot more. At the same time, as you say, there's some good wins there, especially against Ollie going in the final stretch of the season. I mean, Ross's team will be what it is. If he gets to parity, he gets to a 500 score, then great. But yeah, it's it. Won't ever set the world alight over the course of a year, but have always got the potential to beat you on any given day.
14 changes.
Yeah, that's right.
14 changes throughout the season, which was not second to last, only to Ben, who we'll come on to shortly.
Yes,
not one for changing his team. And if we do take a quick look at his team to start the season,
which does tell you that the draft that he had was good.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Elliott,
always
going to be a stalwart. Evans was a really solid player too. We
Sakala.
see where the problems crop up with the Jai, Thomas. We already saw Evan Ingram finish the season on Padastan's team. Chris Thompson was injured, as was Garçon. Jack Doyle obviously played second fiddle to Eric Ebron. Andrew Luck was good. Cooper Cup also got injured.
Yeah.
And then not much to speak
Nick
of.
Chubb at 14.
He dropped him, I think.
Never played him.
Never played him. So
exactly
maybe a tale of what could have been for us. We certainly held on to a couple of those players there. But outside, like you said, Chris, of those top two picks, not a lot to speak of. I think it's fair to say. And if we look at the final team, right about here, we have, like you say, you've got those three players like Elliott and Evans, and then
I forgot about Eric Ebron.
He did pick up Eric
Jalen
Ebron.
running back.
If
Credit is where credit's due.
If there's one move to make, he was it at the time, because he had a stretch where he was just on fire, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look at Jay Ajayi, it's not necessarily his fault.
He was injured and ended up in reserve. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, like we said, you don't help yourself if you don't add on the waiver. And I would think Ross had a solid enough draft with a few of those players there, with a few good waiver moves in there. Could have potentially even been a contender. But
yeah, that's right. But say those three guys, like Elliott and Evans, really were the cornerstone of his success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Ixan's next on the list. They finished 9th overall last season. And
it should have been an awful lot less than this.
Yes, and do you want to tell us why, Chris?
The burning injustice.
Well, it is rather. When you get to a 7-7 score, that record there does not do that team justice at all. And we'll see it in a second that not only was the team bad, like really bad, the way that he won those games is lucky beyond belief. So let's have a look at the numbers. And I think we'll prove what's going to happen here.
And and so coming into that this season, Ben really is the model of consistency. He'd gone 8-6 4 straight seasons, picking up a Corona Bowl title.
I'll tell you, he wasn't far away from doing it again.
Wasn't? No, consistency.
And it was. There was a couple of we talk about these scumbag wins because that's what they are.
What did we call them last season?
The Gypsy Victories.
The
Gypsy Victories. We shall call that again.
Should we go down to Whiteley and ask the Gypsies what they think? They might provide some good analysis.
Because you look at some of these wins and they are absolutely you just get the right teams at the right time.
Yeah. So I think to be fair in the first 9 weeks, the games that he won aside from week 7, he did put the points on the board. But the problem was, it wasn't a particularly high score. You can see, he gets to 120.
It's that. I mean, look at week 6. It's that win against you, where I say it's a gypsy win. I say I'm not gonna put it any other fashion. The week against you in week 9, gypsy win. 50. You get a 55 pointer. You should be absolutely beating that. And ADRZ. 64 pointer.
Yeah, and which he was lucky to get. You look at that stretch. I mean, it's easy to see where. But I mean, up to that point, his record must have been
a 75 pointer, and he won.
He was 6-3 entering week 10, and went 1-4 down the stretch. So absolutely collapsed when he couldn't have. But like you say, the numbers don't lie. As we said all season long last year, and they deserved.
It is absolutely. So this game is not necessarily about skill. A lot of the time, because Nathan and Ben have had very similar records, except the only difference was that that you conceded an awful lot more points.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that's the luck element.
Yes.
Is that it's getting
It's
people.
okay, Chris. You still finished above him.
I did. Exactly that. But the point I have here is that it doesn't matter about. This is the time we're going to review this. In seasons gone by, that statistic is going to be next season. It's going to be like, right, he scored 8 and 6 3 years ago, 7 and 7 one year, and that's what counts. It's not about how he did it. But let's highlight this because that's the thing that really gets me is that you can be so lucky and yet still do well.
Yeah.
Indeed. And looking at his draft, Hopkins was good, as was Jones. Rodgers was unfortunately injured. Henry didn't last on his team the whole season, nor did Penny. Penny was a bit of an head scratcher at the time. Jeffrey was injured, but and then got traded eventually for James White, I believe.
Garbage.
Yeah, so Robert Woods was a good pick.
Really
Crowell
good.
was good while healthy. I think Bernard
He
had
was
a
a
few
weird pick in round
spot
10,
good
yeah.
games. So not the best of drafts, but good enough, I would say, for Ixan. And if we take a look at his team to end the season here, as I said, that James White trade, Naeem Hines was a good add to Dak Prescott's serviceable quarterback. And then on the bench, not much to speak of there, which is usually the case for an Ixan team.
That's it. Yeah, exactly that.
Again, decent enough, but a few things did crop up and get in his way. But team management ultimately through the season,
That's
probably
right.
what
They didn't have a running back for a lot of the year as well, and for a team that didn't have a running back, they got awfully fortunate.
Yes.
That their receivers a receiver called bail them out of the shit.
Yes, absolutely. And who was number 8? It was you, Chris.
It was.
With Flies, much more deserved.
Well, you say that.
7-7 record.
See, that's the thing. You're going to look at this in a minute, and you're going to call me an absolute hypocrite because I'm exactly the same, right?
I was about to come in. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's it. I am happy to put my hands up and say that my season was like leaving the pub when you're pissed, stumbling home and falling over your doorstep.
You reverted back to your usual Forge Flyers type of season.
Well,
after
you did.
your championship win.
This is
you
it,
went straight
right?
back.
Go
And that's
straight back
exactly
down.
it. Coming off a championship win,
There's only
Chris,
one difference, though.
After all the difficulties you've gone through in the league previous, and just to summarise those for you quickly, 2-12 in 2014, 3-11 in 2015, 6-8 better in 2016, and prior to that, bubbling around 8-6, 6-8 with 1-4 season. Obviously your title season coming off that. You are not much the coaching style who say, right, let's press on and have another great one.
Yep.
You were very like, I've won it now. I'm going to enjoy
sit here
it.
and relax.
I'm really happy that.
That happens with teams in the NFL, and you can't blame anyone.
Absolutely.
At least for you, Chris. And that maybe happened to a degree.
It did. I was very content.
Compared to in a microcosm of your last 5 years in the league, this was actually probably one of your better seasons still. 7-7 record. If we take a look at how the season panned out for you as it happened,
I can't talk. My wins. But there is some
we can
absolute
see,
camping gypsy.
so
There is a
there
gypsy
are some
with
bad
it.
ones,
There
but
we
we
go.
can also see you win the first two. Okay, one of them was the 75-73 win, but then
75-point
you
win,
have
week
4
2.
losses in the stretch from weeks 3 to 7 where you scored over 100 points every time. A 126-point week, 1 week where you lost as well. Okay, you've got the 89 win in there in the middle too, but that kind of balances out at that point. You're 3-4 entering week 8. You get another win,
blown away by
another couple of ropey ones, and then
there's another
ropey ones.
75-point week.
Exactly right. But I did get the double over Ben, so I was happy with that.
Okay,
So,
I would describe it as a solid season, wouldn't you, Phil?
Yeah, nothing remarkable, but got by with what you had.
I will say this though, I was the only person I think to have a complete dud in the first round.
Le'Veon.
Yes, I think this was certainly one of the contenders for the worst pick in the draft. Again, through no fault of your own.
Yeah.
Exactly.
At the time, which, as you know, that we draft very close to the start of the season, it was unbeknownst to anyone that he wouldn't play the entire year, so that didn't help. Joe Mixon was good for you. Alex Collins,
he was alright to start with, but then just died off. Russell Wilson was the thing that kept it all together.
Yeah, Fitzgerald was okay.
Garbage QB.
Yeah.
Struggled with Brandon Cooks.
Cooks was good. Olsen got injured
very early.
Yeah.
Crowded was just garbage. Carlos Hyde was the problem. He got traded halfway through the season.
Was very good until then, and John Brown was okay.
Yeah, Ravens D stayed.
George Kittle, I think that was
George
also
Kittle
one of our.
George Kittle was absolutely it. That was a great.
That was one of our best picks of 2018 when we looked last week. And if we look at your final team for your season, we can see familiar faces. Derrick Henry, obviously a fan favourite. Picked up the massive game he had. I believe he was on your bench, which didn't help.
That's bench Jacksonville as well.
That's right. It was. Yeah.
You were the king of the tight end with Jared Cook as well. Was
Jared
George
Cook?
Kittle
Yeah.
year.
So it's a shame that this year didn't happen earlier, really, because that'd have been good.
But a few weak spots in your team. You struggled with that second receiver, I would say, all year long. And probably fair to say the flex as well.
That was the problem. Is that once I lost my first round pick, my entire season sort of got bitten off.
Much a similar problem as my team. You know, once you've lost that from the bat, essentially.
Your the three running back thing. I tried again, didn't work. So. Yeah, it is what it is. But hey, to get to stagger to 7-7 was I was really pleased with that. I don't think I've never would have even dreamed that halfway through the season that I got there. So, yeah, eighth place doesn't seem great, but
and when you count in the fact that you'll see on the screen here, dear listeners, that 7-7 was not an uncommon record last year. As the next team we are looking at, and get used to it because there's going to be another one. Ben Necessity 7-7 last year as well. They were 7th place in the end. 1,450 points forward, not bad. 1,400 against. They were coming off 3 straight 8-6 seasons, with a 10-4 season in 2014. So this really was their worst year. Just by a bit for the last few years, and it's kind of been the same story every year for their necessities. It's usually starts a bit slow, gets some good waiver pickups, and then carries on. Myself and Tom were talking about it the other day that my dad as a drafter, and we'll see it on the draft picks in a minute, is an interesting one because one second you'll think that's a genius pick, the next you'll be scratching your head what is that pick? We'll come to it in a bit. But we can see really good start here for Ben Necessities. Week 1 was spotty, but then from weeks 2 to 6, some really good wins. Went into week 7 at a 4-2 record. Picked up a couple of warm-ins, an 8 and 9, and again just seemed to fade down the stretch. They had a couple of good weeks where they got outscored, but then a few bad weeks as well. So there was a lot of that in the league last year, and I know you're probably sitting there feeling a bit nervous with your time coming.
Yes, we don't have to go into my team. We can skip on to skip away from that. We don't want to surface all those wounds.
Yeah, indeed. And taking a look at the draft picks, so we have. Excuse me, David Johnson was a good pick at the time. He had an okay season, but certainly not the expectation.
Bad O-line.
Travis Kelce and Doug Baldwin were 2 good picks. We'll come back to Rex Burkhead. Golden Tate was okay until he got traded. I think Funchess got cut or traded. I think he was traded at one point. Wentz was a good pick, and then not a lot to speak of in the end rounds. Deshaun Jackson was a nice.
Deshaun Jackson was a pick up in 15.
But Michelle.
Yeah, the head scratcher here that also interestingly actually paid off. Rex Burkhead in the 4th, Sony Michel in the 6th. Chris, the feeling of that at the time.
It was a strange one to think at the time because they sort of complement each other in the sense that Burkhead does the battering and Michel does everything else down 1 to 3, but he hedged his bets a little bit there.
And it paid off because Burkhead eventually got injured and Michelle came in and
that's
became
right.
Burkhead,
but it's just not something you would necessarily advocate.
It's 2 picks
for
one player, isn't it?
Very Tuckford like sort of draft strategy. One would say.
That's it. One might say.
At least it wasn't Andrew Johnson though. Could have been worse.
Andrew Johnson.
Well, it wasn't too far away with Rex Burkhead, but
that's it.
Wasn't yours T.Y. Hilton in the 2nd or 3rd, and then Johnson in the 5th or something?
Yeah. The difference between that is that with running back, especially in the New England system, is that there's always one guy who's running across the goal line, and that was supposed to be Burkhead, but it didn't necessarily work out that way. So
very true.
We all learn. We all live and learn.
Indeed. And if we look at the final team, they had Marlon Mack and DJ Moore come in. I spoke about the waiver ads that my dad finds.
Yeah.
Also had Mitchell Trubisky at points, traded for Jordan Howard. Tyler Boyd was really good last season too.
Yeah.
So some good ads. ultimately, though, as we saw, the fade at the end is what cost them.
Yeah, so it's not. Again, this is the thing. Is that this is the difference in the sense of luck? Is that there was some very very close scores there.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that with just a little bit of something more, it'd have been all right. But again, when you see it in the draft, there wasn't anyone who was like, that's definite, like 20, 30 points a week sort of guy.
No.
So it's a very conservative. It's a very
Indeed.
entire team points draft. Whilst what we're going to see next, I think, is the next couple of guys, particularly when you get to Phil, is that it's one or two players that are going to make your week. And I think Ollie Gardner's next.
Yep, he is.
And this hopefully should demonstrate my point.
Yeah, because Ollie Gardner, after joining the league in, I believe, 2016, let me just find his last season stats here. I know they're on here somewhere. But yeah, 7-7 season for Ollie. Come on, Murray. There we go. And so that was his third season last year. 8-6 in his first season, 6-8 in his second. But we've been saying for years they were quite fortunate. He was quite fortunate to get the years he did because the team didn't generate a lot of points.
No.
Benefits slightly from low points conceded. Got a few lucky gypsy wins, as you like to say. But I think, despite only going 7-7, much the same as he always done, he probably did earn it more last year than he has any other year. 1497 points forward. That's good for. It's around middle of the pack, but it's a pretty good season, and he had a reasonable amount of conceded as well. If we take a look at his schedule, right here, I'm going blind. There he is. So a great start out of the gates, 3-0, and he posted at least 90 points until week 6.
Well,
but then after that, look at that, no other game below that 100. And so, in a lot of ways, I mean, we definitely said at the end of last season, Chris, that he certainly earned his record this year for the first time.
100%. Yep, I'll go with that.
And he was also fair to say, probably quite unfortunate it wasn't more.
Yeah, I think that the first 3 games really started his season off. We just go to the top of there. We've got 95 to a 66 point win. Well, there are weeks that you will lose that 96 to 74 again, and 103 to 96 against Bedett, who hadn't quite sparked it yet. He then he's on the losing end to you and to Ross. So again, that's a bit of a problem.
Combined loss of about 5 points across.
That's right, exactly that, and that's where he's put himself in contention a bit there. Again, same thing to Viv. There's only 7 point difference there. Tom, there's only a 4 point difference there.
Slim margins.
It's very much slim margins, and the games that he's won convincingly, and that hasn't been necessarily been the case. And he's finished well.
Yeah,
that's what. 6 wins, 5 wins the last 6 games.
That's right, and it could have been more as well. It could have been more.
Absolutely.
I think that they were a threat for the first time last year, and you can see why.
Odell Beckham was the first pick. He was a bit banged up at times, but he was a really good player for them. Dalvin Cook as well, good until he got injured. Royce Freeman had his weeks. Philip Lindsay ended up outshining him, but he did have some value. Robinson again, probably not great value, but he would have been in the mix for as a flex.
Davis.
Yeah, Graham was a great too. Breeze, really good pick, and we'll come to an even better one in a second. Marlon Mack obviously didn't stay on the team. Golladay, good pick. Can't remember if he stuck around all season. We'll see it in the final team. Aaron Jones was okay. Calvin Ridley was pretty good. Patrick Mahomes, though, is the shining beacon of every season. And that's quite the quarterback duo, as we'll see on his final roster. It's no wonder that he scored as many points as he did with Drew Brees and Patrick Mahomes.
Exactly that.
He had Chris Carson by the end, who was also a solid running back. What else we got here? And it's really a lot of the players you see that who we started with. It's really had a great draft. Don't you think?
No, definitely. I think he's definitely improved on his drafting, and I think coming into last season, he may have been viewed as still sort of a rookie player, but sort of after the season he had and some of the picks he made, and some of the runs and results he got, especially towards the end of the season, definitely can see him as an improved player and will be certainly more dangerous coming into this season.
Yeah, I mean this team does demonstrate exactly what I was talking about before. Is that when you have one player that accounts for nearly, he's a third of his points for the year.
Yes. Yeah.
That's it. That makes life a hell of a lot easier.
Yes.
You know, so when you've got guys, yes, we say Dalvin Cook was good until he got injured. He was. That's it. But then when you've got guys like Carson to sort of carry the load, as it were, Ridley, who was an excellent pickup. You know, so you look down on the bench. Just the bench is formidable, I would say.
I think.
Yeah, and that's I can only presume Beckham was on the bench at the end, perhaps because of injury. Aaron Jones was having a strong season, as you can see there, 145 points.
Kicker in DST was good, I believe.
Yeah,
he just always picks up some good. Bears D, of course.
Yeah, of course. So yeah,
I also
really
think when you draft like two players, very good players at different positions, then the selection headache becomes a thing.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
you know some like matchups can be won or lost by that decision. So there is a headache having Breeze and Mahomes.
Also, it's probably fair to criticise him for not trying to flip one of those guys for another, key start. You only need if you've got a Mahomes or a Breeze, you can you put your GM hat on and okay, so I need one of these guys. I've got this guy here, and that could have been the difference, as we saw. But still a good season, I think, all things considered.
Yep.
And our final 7-7 team here, I believe. Yep.
Oh God.
You ready, Phil?
And you had very good points forward. You can see there, 1546, which I'm not sure where that is in the rankings, but it's definitely top 4, I think. I think there's a couple of teams. Yeah, I think it was 4th. So really good in terms of scoring. You had a fair amount of points against too, so you certainly deserved the 7-7 record. However, that L3 there is what we're going to be focusing in on.
Yep,
right here. And just before we get to that, looking at your previous seasons, really since we transitioned from the keeper days, you have had, and since being a 12-team league, you've had a bit of a bad time of it. 6-8. 5-9, 5-9 since 2015. You had the 10-4 season in 2014, and of course, you had to hoist the Corona Ball.
Yeah, of course. Well, yeah, it's a work in progress, obviously. But I think on the 12-team league point, apart from 2017, I've always been close and been involved.
Yeah.
It's just there have been, as you're about to see, stretches where things just fall apart.
Yeah, and weeks 1 to 8 for you really good. Aside from the week 5 score, pretty unfortunate not to win all of those games, I would say.
Some close matchups.
That week 6 one. Oh man, see, that's the thing. That's the ultimate difference against a real garbage offensive team. That's the difference between you being in the playoffs and not.
That's true, but I did ride my luck as well. If you look at week 4 with 106, 105 win.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of here and there.
Everyone's going to have one.
Oh, here we
but
go.
we know that's not where it really costs you.
Dear.
Because
is that 45?
Yes.
Oh God, I really
that was week 15 though. That was consolation.
Mentally.
But no, it's this week 12 to week 14 here for you, where it really cost you. Obviously, you lost to the eventual team that took your playoff spot. But deserved loss, I would say there, and obviously week 14 you couldn't get it done either. Week 13 you had a good amount of points, but the man to your left saw you off, and unfortunately that was what cost you the position in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean I think it was the last sort of 5 games. We had a bit of selection problems, and my quarterback wasn't doing very well. I had a few injuries, and generally everything didn't go my way. So that's why I wasn't confident going into the final game against Ross. And obviously, the chances of me basically I almost over an 80% chance to make it to the playoff at one point, and then it just trickled down. Going down.
Honestly, Phil, I had my money on you last year, mate.
I know. So did I.
That's it. After the first 5 weeks, we absolutely smacked around Tom and Viv like
like Kareem
Hunt. Allegedly.
Has Kareem Hunt become the new
I've
Maurice
seen-
Allen?
I have seen that video, and he does, like, the person he does it to gets absolutely crunched. So it's a rather good analogy.
Indeed. So, and your draft, you absolutely killed it as well.
Looking down, Todd Gurley, Michael Thomas, Keenan Allen's the first three picks.
What a
Probably not a better
three.
first three, I would say, in the draft last year. Okay, Lynch didn't really pan out.
No.
Jones was injured.
And
Peterson,
then,
I think, had some good weeks.
And then he gets to week 8, right? And this is where it goes off.
Fuller was good till he got injured. Cousins, though.
He wrecked your season, mate.
Cousins was dreadful. I will not be going anywhere near him.
Let's not forget our old favourite Jordy Nelson here as well, who famously was the cut straight after the draft. Not a good.
It was a shame because he's been a great wide receiver for years, but just never really panned out.
Gone to the chaos that is the Oakland Raiders.
Yes. And Chris Godwin did pan out, however, as we saw, not for your team as it would turn out. And by the end of it, you say selection issue as well. You're starting Josh Allen at quarterback, who had an okay season, but
this was at the point where I'd said fuck it. And I will see everyone next year. Is that Kalen Ballage?
Kalen Ballage, you obviously picked up Lamar Miller along the way too, which wasn't quite enough. And Antonio Gates starting for you, that kind of says it all really at some point.
I'd given up at this point,
right,
certainly.
So we won't criticise you too. You had that week where you dropped a lot of people, perhaps.
The Phil Merritt rage quit has become a thing.
It happened.
I'll give you a pass, and let's take a quick look at the game centre here, because this will show you your actual final roster on week 14.
Oh, okay. Didn't have to see this.
I could have done week 11.
Gonna rub the salt in the wound.
So you had Cousins at that point, and me and Chris were harping on for weeks that you needed to find another option.
That's right. And so the annoying thing is that with that QB, without him, literally anybody else, because today we saw Breeze go, we saw Mahomes go, we saw Andrew Luck went in the third round. Literally anybody else, you probably would have won. Or would have had you certainly would have had a shot at winning, because say the record going into with a different QB, a record in those middle weeks, where Cousins basically fucked you over.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, it is. Cousins was the main problem, and just it was good to get rid of him.
Yeah, that's it. It was
good to see.
One thing I will say about your team, other than Godwin on the bench, there wasn't really a lot to speak of there.
This was a problem,
and it's just it happens, but it certainly doesn't help. So
by the way, the money that you spent for him was justified in the end.
Yes. I needed that extra flex player, and I always come out of trades with Nathan very well. So every time he proposes a trade,
did I even get from you?
I cannot remember.
No, I think I dropped him. You picked him up from Wayne.
Exactly that. And you spent like 50 credits.
Yeah, you spent $50. Yeah.
Oh, fair.
There you go. Our next team then. We'll go to let's go to Nige next. ADRZ, of course.
The beacon of consistency.
Usually the case is he's the lowest conceding team, but not so in 2018. No. But he earned his keep with a formidable 1570 points, earning a 9-5 record and the Portsmouth Division crown. And really, he has been on a little bit of a, you wouldn't maybe not call it a dynasty, but he has been the team to beat over the last few seasons in the NFC. Since 2015, he has had an 11-3, 8-6, 9-5 record. Adding a 9-5 here, but of course in that 15-17 season, as per the Hall of Fame nomination, he made the Corona Bowl 3 straight years, bringing home one of them. So he has been on quite the run, and 2018 was nice.
He is Atletico Madrid, isn't he?
Yeah,
that's it. That is him.
Atletico with a Champions League.
Yeah, the Champions League. Yeah, that's right. Probably they won something.
Yes.
And if you take a look right here, starting out the gate weeks 1 to 4, unfortunate not to be 4-0. But certainly deserving of the 3-1. Even the loss in week 5, he still posted pretty well. Picking up some 2 big wins here in week 6 and 7. Having a bit of a shaky one in week 8, but then right back at it until week 13. And then finishing the season with a nice week 14 win. Very strong, consistent season there, wouldn't you say?
I would say so. He bet big on the Chiefs and came up trumps.
He did,
which was great.
We'll take a look at the draft right now, in fact.
But I think McKnight just said he goes with his gut a lot. He goes with guys he thinks seem to be exciting. And I think that's the main reason why he does so well. You know, so he just goes into the draft and goes, I want this guy because he's exciting to watch, and then does it, and then it's great. But as a result, there are some weeks where he will just won't do anything because they're those sort of guys.
Yeah.
They just sort of turn it on. If they're big, they're big. If they're not so big, they don't do anything.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he lost in week 15. The first time he hasn't appeared in the Corona Bowl for 3 years. And we look at his draft, like you said, definitely put all his money on the Chiefs. Kareem Hunt and Tyreek Hill at picks 1 and 3 really came through for him.
Definitely.
Well, Hunt did until he didn't. Devontae Freeman, if you don't know that, by the way, then we've said it enough.
Yes.
Devontae Freeman got injured. That's quite early as well, so that was a bit of a shot in the foot. Juju Smith-Schuster was a really good player.
That was a great
Had a
pickup.
great season. Newton was a large part of the reason why he had a good season to a point when he got injured.
That's right.
And was then part of the problems near the end. Gordon had, again, a good start to the season until he wasn't there anymore. Walker got injured. Garoppolo got injured. Ivory didn't really do too much. Lockett was a good pick, as was DJ Moore, but he wound up on Ben Necessities and not much.
Frank Gore was right down the 15.
Indeed. And then we look at the final team he had at the end. As we said, Cam Newton, much like you with Cousins, after the injury, he wasn't the same. Probably shouldn't have stayed with him as long as he did.
No, I think that was part of the reason why I say it's good to have loyalty to people sometimes and think they're going to get better. But the two QBs there, you can't rely on them. Newton, especially with one shoulder, and then Derek Carr in the dysfunctional.
Certainly a team that got very hurt as the season went on, with the running backs as well, losing Devontae Freeman and Kareem Hunt. They were signing Justin Jackson and Jalen Samuels by then. Not
doing
quite.
well with those two players though,
They weren't the problem in this particular week against Tom in week 15, but then tight end was an issue as well. I believe at one point, didn't he have Eric Ebron and dropped him perplexingly?
Which is a very Nige move.
Nige
move. To have someone like that and to keep him, it would have been very Nige, but that's that didn't quite work out this year. I think we did have a Nigel QB roulette, and that was a feature last year for a few weeks.
Yes, I think you're right. And then the other team that didn't quite make the Corona Bowl but did win the regular season was the Dream Team. 11-3 record, best in class, 1,610 points forward, which was second most. Maybe a tad for the points against were about league average, maybe on the lighter side, but not far off.
His offense was good, so
indeed.
We'll let him off.
Indeed. And if we look at Viv's prior few seasons, just as I bring up the schedule as well. Okay, Dream Team.
This was his year.
This was it.
Yeah, and coming off a 4-10 year, I think I said coming into last season the window was closing. I was right. This year, though, with that out of the way, straight back to it. Prior to that 4-10 season, 9-5, 8-6, 8-6, so some really good years in there. Not a slow start, but two losses straight away.
The Jiggo win.
But then he went on quite the run of 5 straight wins. Unfortunate for it to not really be weeks 3 all the way through to 14.
Yeah.
Only one loss. An incredible run.
I agree, but one that peaked at the wrong time. Now we'll see the reason why. I mean, like Tom was strong all year. Ollie was not strong all year, but peaked at the right time. Viv was a kick of the middle weeks, but just absolutely fell off a cliff.
You
at
can
the
see
wrong
where
time.
it started.
Yeah.
I mean, he's posting around 90 points in those 3 weeks, but once you're in the playoffs, that's not good enough. And we say the 90 points during the season, that's going to be enough to get you to maybe 7-8 wins typically. But once it hits to week 15 and 16, you got to go over 100. And as we could see in week 15, they're losing to the Detonators, deservingly 92 to 122.
It's been a third place game though, so Well,
the old third place game. I've been in there a number of times, I can tell you that. It's not a great game to be in.
Leading it off up with Alvin Kamara, that was a great pick. He was really good. AJ Green was good till he got injured. Adam Thielen was another great pick, as was Zach Ertz. Brady was okay, probably just about justified that 5th round pick. Johnson, Cobb, Morris didn't really do too much. Barber was serviceable.
Our old mate Peyton Barber, who to be fair did start for him a lot of weeks. I slagged that off a lot of weeks, but he was there. He
had a lot around him,
saw
but it
through the
didn't
season,
matter.
He
Yeah.
did the job. Yeah.
Edelman was a great pick. He obviously came back after his early season suspension. TJ Yeldon proved to be a very good dart throw
Valuable,
with the injury to Leonard Fournette. And even though Doug Martin, maybe if he kept him, also turned out quite well once Marshawn Lynch went down.
Yep.
But if we look at the final team, it's always been the case with the Dream Team, or it has been. They've had a great regular season because they've been out ahead of the gates so long. They've just run out of steam by the end because they can't get the players in. We are now in a different format, so you can't blame that on the system anymore. That's on you if you can't get the players in.
Right, yeah.
And we'll see here. He had Jared Goff, who we picked up early, who was really good. But after they came out of their bye after that loss to the Chiefs, they weren't the same team.
Different team, yeah.
Sorry, that's not Jamal. Is that Jay Adams? I'm not even sure who that is.
Josh Adams.
I remember it because the Eagles were so desperate at running back by the end, weren't they? They were playing him. But obviously not an ideal option for him. The receivers were fine and they let him down, I think it's fair to say.
Oh yeah, Adam
As did Zach
Thielen.
Which is for the same reason as they let you down. Cousins let you down as a result.
Gus Edwards, was another guy, he was another one of those teams. You talk about Peyton Barber and Yeldon, but they weren't, they were fill-ins. They needed someone permanent and they couldn't get that guy. So a sad end and a familiar end really for the Dream Team.
Yeah, I agree. I'd say, and there will be a year that Viv wins it, but unfortunately, it is about finding the players that peak at the right time, and that is luck as well. Because it's a lot of it's injuries, a lot of it's you wouldn't have thought Jared Goff fall off the cliff like they did.
Yeah.
You'd expect Go to fall off the cliff like he did.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think Viv and I are in that exclusive club where we've come very close a number of times, and maybe you're right. Maybe that was Viv's time, and unfortunately, and NFL fantasy is weird. Suddenly, things just turn against you, and that's happened to us both now a couple of times. So one of us will eventually get there and lift the crown.
Yeah, well, that's it. There's no doubt. There's no doubt, and the thing is that with Viv's team. It wasn't outwardly a great team in the draft. It wasn't like yours, where you're thinking your first three picks and you go, oh my word, that is the team. So he cobbled together a fairly consistent band of players that worked, and worked in the right weeks. But when you have a consistent team, not necessarily a team of superstars, that is what's going to happen. Is that it can't carry on forever, especially in average teams. And when you've got at the end, especially when you've got guys like Kamara and Adam Thielen, and particularly a QB that isn't firing, you can't expect to win. So you can't be held together with two players. I can probably get behind you can be held together with three players, but definitely not two. Two's just not enough.
And now moving on to the first Corona Bowl appearer in Corona Bowl 10, Tom's Tyrants, who very good season at 10-4. They had the most points forward in 1,640. They also conceded a boatload, so they definitely owned their record at 10-4. And it's been a bit of an interesting last few seasons up to that. Obviously, Tom won it in 2011, and then he had a great season in 2012, 31, but was one and done. Came back and won it in 2014, I believe, with an 8-6 season, going again and running the table. But then 2014 onwards, 8-6, 7-7, 6-8, 5-9. Really did have his struggles, but last year completely different. Great season. And as we take a look at the schedule here,
had a much easier league division this time though. Was that his? Where was he?
Everyone going to be in Ross's team.
Soft.
And Ollie's team until a point, which we'll come on to in a bit, also wasn't the best.
Big point.
So that's a good point there, Phil. But we can see here. So really, if you look at some of the scores he's posting here, 130, 140, 150, 124, 127 and a loss. Some really great weeks, and only in week 8 in the first 10 weeks he went under 90 points, and indeed for the whole season. Only a handful of times. So really just a strong season. Obviously he down Nige.
Such a close Corona Bowl.
And we'll come on to the Corona Bowl in a second. We'll take a look at Tom's draft though. Tom's Tyrants, there we go.
I mean, we should point out this was the best team.
Yes,
I feel as though this is like, this is like if there were ever a Premier League playoff, Liverpool won it last year. You know, I said that would have been bad. You know, I said Tom's team was the absolute Rolls Royce last year. That's it.
Yeah.
And it suffered from much the same things as we were just saying about Viv and Nigel's team, that the steam just came out of the engine at the exact wrong time.
Absolutely.
And we see here with Melvin Gordon, he was a great pick, but by the end of it, he wasn't doing great.
Nope.
Devontae Adams, he had a really good season. Kenyon Drake, was he on the roster by the end? But he had a written. I think you're very correct. Very inconsistent year. Mark Ingram, solid year. Chris Hogan,
too busy playing lacrosse.
Yeah, indeed. Trey Burton was okay, but probably not for where he took in. Sanders got injured. Carson, I believe, was injured and obviously ended up on.
Philip Rivers in round 9, one you could have got. Phil.
Great pick, yeah. He was a great pick. Kevin Menzel wasn't. Eckler served him well, certainly when Gordon was injured. And then not much else to speak of there. If we look at the final roster for Tom, so he had Baker Mayfield, he had Nick Chubb, but he famously added quite a few running backs to the season. Kenny Golladay was on his team by the end. Chris Herndon was a really good ad for him. Damian Williams was a terrific ad. Just kept him going, but you know the injuries to Andy Sanders and Melvin Gordon really didn't help, obviously. So a tale of what could have been, and as we build it in the build-up, it would have been a dynasty stamper. If he won that, that's the Tom Tyrant's dynasty for the first decade of the LSU.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about that. He was he had the right running backs at the right time, and
picked up Nick Chubb
largely. Picked up Nick Chubb for free. David Williams for free. Picked up
Baker.
Baker picked up.
We didn't see there as well. James Conner
as well. Yeah, exactly.
Foolish to not mention James Conner.
James Conner was the pickup that sort of catapulted him for the first few weeks because he was excellent. Obviously got injured and didn't do very well the last few weeks, which again might be one of the reasons why those wins were taken out of the sales slightly. But I mean, you know, when you have probably the 3 best or maybe even the 4 best running backs in the league on your roster at any given time to try and get in there, you know, I think you're going to be fine. Receiver-wise, weirdly enough, for Tom, who is he was a receiver drafter a lot of the time, wasn't quite there. You know, we look at the quality of his running backs in comparison to that. But obviously, he had a very solid QB. And after that, as I say, if you have 4 dominant players, week in, week out, and the other guys who are around you, the other 6. You don't need necessarily to think about it too much.
No.
You know, he's obviously very active on the waivers. You had the right picks at the right time. Again, you know, either outspend. It can't be luck anymore because you have to spend. So as a complete performance over the course of the year, you can't really knock it. Unfortunately, it's that 1 point in the final that does it against a team that, as we'll see in a minute, was garbage for the first 7 weeks. Pure garbage, and then just managed to get some sort of win. But you know, there's no doubt that if the result gone the other way, it would have been absolutely the right result. You know, so it would have been totally deserved.
Definitely was the best all-round squad out of everyone.
Yeah, that's right, exactly that. And to not win the regular season with that amount of points, to me, is crazy.
1 win short.
Fair play to you, Viv. You know, so,
but Bedadnators now, we can see them right there. The wildcard team, 8-6 record, 1,543 points scored, pretty good, but certainly nowhere near the best. And then about middle of the park, I'd say, for points against. Since their title season in 2013, where they went 11-3, 8-6, 7-7, 5-9, 6-8. So much like Tom, not much to speak of since for quite a few seasons, but. We'll look at the schedule and exactly what you were just talking about here. It was a spotty start, and we were close to writing Bedadnators off at one point, but thank God we didn't. Because you can see here, very inconsistent start. Now the points just seeing there are not too bad, but they certainly, compared to a few of the teams we've just seen, certainly didn't have the upside. They had a 133 week, but other than that, no great weeks there.
It was a win once every 2 for the first 8, and that's not a championship winning standard. But look at this.
From weeks 10 onwards is weeks 11. Sorry, you can see it. Entering week 11, it was absolute must win. Multiple games behind you and others at that point, Phil. And indeed the win over you there. But crazy run to finish the year. What's that? 6 out of 6 wins, and obviously the closest Corona Bowl in history.
Yeah.
I think week 10 is where, I don't know what happened between week 10 and week 11, but at that point there was a sudden dramatic shift, not just for the destinators, but that was when Viv started falling off as well, and I started going,
And
Nige, and there was definitely a seismic change between everyone there, and then Ollie that came up, and let's be honest, Ollie was lucky to be in that wildcard spot. Very
lucky.
Fortunate.
We saw with all the 7-7s, he was the only contender who actually won in the final week, hilariously. But yeah, a lot of contention for that last spot. But he did have a good draft. Saquon Barkley was good all season. Christian McCaffrey, good, but really did take off after Newton's injury. Stephon Diggs was good, as was Deshaun Watson. Crabtree was okay until Lamar Jackson came into the picture. Jaxty, okay. Huns was a whiff in the 7th. Reed was a great in the 8th. But Tariq Cohen in the 9th was a great pick. Keelan Cole, Donta Foreman, Wilkins.
See, look, that's the difference here, is that you look at that and you think from the draft, that is not good. But here's the difference, is that we look at the final week.
Yeah, so we've got Alshon Jeffrey, who they traded for.
Yeah.
Philip Lindsay, who they added, of course.
It was a great pick
after
up.
week 1.
They get rid of the Jags early because they realised it was garbage.
CJ Anderson he had by the end. Robbie Anderson had some good games. So made some key adds. Players got informed at the exact right time, and we Philip Lindsay in that, it was down to, I think we can show you, we got the chart here. We can see Philip Lindsay was in this Monday night game. It was Tom's to lose. And Philip Lindsay came in with 5.7 points and probably got injured on the final play that detonated the victory here.
Literally laying down his health for the team. Look at that.
Yeah, indeed. It was the only thing Philip Lindsay was going to win last year.
Yeah, exactly that.
Just as well. So...
it's just players he's added, like Philip Lindsay is one of them, and if you scroll down to the players he had, he's bought a couple wins.
Deshaun Watson was great last season. McCaffrey, like I say, certainly once Cam got injured, he was just playing ridiculous snaps.
Again,
Titans D have been brought in, they're scoring big.
They were good last year. You say the thing about it's the four players again. It's it. When you've got your QB, I talked about it from the early days of doing this pod. It's the top 3. If you've got 2 running backs and a QB that play well every week, you are going to be in contention for the league. It's as easy as that. If you've got a receiver that's going off as well, plus a flex player, then wow, I say you're in dreamland. But if you've got your 2 running backs and a receiver that play well every single week, that's it. You're in contention. That's what's happened here. Is that McCaffrey, Barkley, and Philip Lindsay are all the same sort of back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in those teams that they played, they all had the same sort of quarterback, especially when Cam got injured. So they're always going to do well.
Exactly, run heavy teams.
Absolutely right, and that's when they came good just at the right time. So Eli went out, Nick. That's it. Whoever's playing
Newton was short.
Newton playing Q for Denver. That's it. Any given week. That's right. Exactly that.
Yeah.
So that's it. It was smart, but also very fortunate. And say the final. You make your own luck, I think, sometimes. But you just got to feel a bit for Tom.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah, it's so close to sealing that dynasty like we talked about. And indeed, you don't want to say it ruined it because, to get to that point and even have the opportunity, it was very good. But Ollie now, Tom can't say he's the only team that's won it twice now.
No.
Because with that's why it was such a, polarising Corona Bowl, because there was so much at stake on both sides, really. So
that's it. But a great year. That was the best year so far, I think.
Indeed. Terrific. A great way to finish off the decade in the league.
Yeah,
potentially at the launch of the Hall of Fame and everything. Of course, how can we not mention the Hall of Fame in the 2018 review, where we inducted Tom for his 2 highest scoring weeks in the season.
Yeah.
What are you looking shifty for?
Who else do we
I know you're about
I'm getting to it. Fine. My dad for his inaugural season, the best season so far, the 15-1 season, title season. My title season in 2010, where I made that, much like Ollie's and Tom's before, the crazy comeback from the death. and win 7 out of 8 or whatever it was their title. And then the committee, I stress the committee, excluding me, induction of the commissioner for career achievement. So we launched the LOC Hall of Fame, and obviously we'll see soon who goes
And
to
the
that.
World Cup is given to Qatar.
yeah.
The committee gave that one as well.
Yes.
But yeah, so that's the 2080 review. I appreciate this is a long show. We will be fairly quicker on the AGM because a few big things happened, but you know it's kind of calmed down in recent years.
Some of you were even there, so
Indeed,
Yeah.
Phil wasn't though, so it's going to be used to you when we go over this. So we talked about.
I've not read anything.
Yeah,
so.
good.
shut your eyes, Phil. Let's ready for this.
Go.
We talked about the current waiver system and we decided to keep it. Obviously,
Yes.
we added that 2 years ago. We added in last season the additional funds during the season, so from weeks 4 to 12. Every other week we added funds based on your standings, either 10 or 5 points. We kept that and we actually enhanced it. We decided that the whole... When we swapped from reverse order of standings, obviously we felt that was because it was too punishing on the good teams and it was too generous to the bad teams.
Right.
We brought in the budget system,
Yeah.
which leveled the playing field. Great, everyone has a shot. But we kind of want the league to be competitive and everything. It's still where that was complete parity. It gave more of an advantage to the teams that were already better off because they had the same chance to improve their team as the worst teams. So we added the additional budget in, obviously, to help the worst teams, give the middle of the pack teams a bit of a boost, but also it is a budget system after all, so the good teams still have the chance to get the players they want.
Right. Okay.
But it was decided in the AGM that the budget didn't go far enough, in fact, to help the worst teams get better. So the budget was doubled. So instead of it being 10 and 5, it will be 20 and 10 every other week for teams in 9 to 12 and 5 to 8.
Okay.
Initial feedback from that, Phil?
Sounds fair.
There you go.
There we go.
What do you think,
Okay.
Chris?
No, I voted for it, so.
So there you go. Yeah. I can't remember what the turnout was. It was about 6 or 7 people in the end, I think. So we did have to be quite liberal. Probably the biggest one, the biggest thing we've done, I would say, since keepers, perhaps.
You brought back keepers.
No.
But we have changed. This is the liberal radical change.
Yeah.
Okay, go
And
on.
this may be a
Go on.
one-year experiment. We'll see. We've got it into review next year. So we have passed a new super flex format. Positions, as you know it, have now drastically changed. We have removed all of the running back, wide receiver, and tight end positions, and the flex position, and replaced it with 1 wide receiver, running back, tight end flex, 2 running back receiver flexes, and 2 wide receiver tight end flexes. So in effect, we've removed 1 starting position and put in 5 flexible positions. And we've also removed a bench spot, but have retained reserve spot.
So in theory, you can play 2 tight ends. In theory, you can play
3 running
3
backs
running
still.
backs.
You can play 5 receivers, or you could play... Basically...
What is this madness?
Basically, you have a max of playing 3 running backs, a max of playing 3 tight ends, and a max of playing 5 receivers. You can have any mix within those maxes that you want. So it could be 4 running backs and 4 receivers and a running back. You could have a tight end, a receiver, and 3 running backs. Whatever you want.
I'm gonna have to go through all this again.
You don't have to play a tight end either.
All I know is a lot of flexi positions. So
Basically, where it was quite rigid before, whereas, you had to play 2 running backs, you had to play 2 receivers, you had to play a tight end, and then you had a choice of another running back receiver. Now it's pretty much at your discretion.
flexible.
Yeah.
Flexible.
And of course, it's like I said, it's whether we removed 1 skill position, so in fact you have 1 less starter than you would have done.
Okay.
You also have less depth now. You've got 1 less bench spot.
Right. So that's going to eliminate a round in the draft.
2
Yes.
rounds.
2 rounds.
That's it, and should, in theory, make the podcast for next year of best and worst
Yeah.
draft picks in the 14th, 15th round
Yeah, I mean,
obsolete.
Yeah.
There's more quality.
yeah,
of course,
we saw when we swapped to a 12-team league that the scoring went down. No surprise, because that's a pool of players that was in 10 teams being stretched over 12 teams. Effectively, we've removed 24 players from being on teams, which, scoring is still probably maybe going to be about where it was, or even come down a bit more, but it's going to mean that there's going to be more free agents available if you'll remember, like
there was
in
nothing.
the 10-team days.
There was
People won't be hoarding
there was
tight
nothing
ends or
last season.
QBs. That's the difference. I think.
But like I say, we're going to review that again in 2020, see if we like it or not, revert, whatever. So,
Okay.
and then we had the elections. So obviously, I was re-elected commissioner. Tom was re-elected Locker, and Chris was elected to be the league ombudsman. So, there you go.
Nice.
There I am.
And
Congratulations.
Might as well see them here every
That was
week.
the first I've heard of this.
Yeah,
this
yeah,
move.
yeah.
and we have one final little fun rule that we added. So it was raised in the open floor section. Now, the regular season winner, obviously, much like if you win the Premier League, you're winning it because of a body of work, not just 2 random weeks at the end of the season. So it is a great achievement to be the regular season champion. And while you are recognised for it, there's not really, we talk in the NFC, it's the same in the NFL, unless you win the big game, get to the Corona Bowl and win it. You're not going to be remembered. Great, you had a nice
Was this
season.
suggested by Viv by any
It was
chance?
suggested by Viv.
Okay.
And it is henceforth known as the Nathwani rule.
Right.
And it is basically that the regular season winner on draft day now has the option to swap his draft position for all rounds with one other team. So as an example, Viv is drafting in the 11th spot this year, meaning he obviously has picks 11 and then pick 14 and alternates thereafter.
Yes.
If he so chooses, doesn't have to use it, he can swap with another position. Anyone else who wants, that will be revealed on draft day. So if he wants the number 1 pick, slot I should say, because he would obviously have the first pick and the last pick of the second round and
Yes.
first pick and so on. If he wants to swap to that slot, he can, or anything else.
Okay. Question.
Yeah,
Viv's not here on draft day.
he's going to submit it to me beforehand,
I see.
and I'll reveal it on draft
Okay.
day.
He's so going to take my first pick. I just know it. I know it.
There you go. But it makes it all the more fun. So,
Yeah.
or
So
is it,
does that mean I'd have to pick at 11?
Yep, you have to swap with wherever.
Okay.
it was.
that
Well,
blows your draft prep out the window. But,
Yeah, there we go.
Someone's
Right,
gonna
Viv,
do it.
don't choose first.
But it doesn't matter this year necessarily because really with the new format,
Best player available.
best player available.
It's not like before. The one benefit that I did think about that I really liked is part of the issue with being in a 12-team league, and like I said, that number of players being stretched even further over 12 teams is that when you've got to adhere to 2 running backs strictly, 2 receivers strictly, then another running back or receiver, and then a tight end, it only takes an injury or something or whatever, and you've got to draft you've got to have the backups in place and everything. Whereas with this, it enables you to be a lot more flexible. You can play to your strengths a bit more, as you say, Chris. You can just take who you think's going to be the best players. You might have the thing on draft day of, I've got 2-3 running backs already previously, but I don't have any receivers. I really like this running back, but I can't take him because I absolutely need a receiver.
Right.
Gone out the window.
Mm.
Gone out the window.
That's it.
Because you can do that if you want now.
As long as and you can, and because the rules are still in place that you can only have a certain amount of positions on your team anyway.
Yeah.
That's it. That does, in theory, get rid of people who start taking 5 running backs. to
Exactly,
5
so
reps.
it can't be ridiculous, we've limited it. Okay, you might say, 5 receivers. At most, you could just, like I said, just start with the receivers, but if you do well to get more than 2 or 3 elite receivers, fair play to you.
Yeah.
And even then, they're not going to be the same might as a couple of 2 or 3 really good running backs. It's not quite the same. Is
No.
it? So like I said, short and sweet AGM, some few changes, slightly substantial, but there you go. We'll see where we go.
Should be fun.
And that is the end of the show.
There you go. Bumper show.
Bumper
Okay.
show.
That's it. You've all well, just hopefully looked back on 2018.
I've got everything
Yeah,
back now.
Saw
That's
your
it.
mistakes.
Now I'm going
Family
to go
going
home and
forward.
cry
Yeah, that's it.
into my
You're
pillow.
not picking
and,
Kirk Cousins this year.
No, I can confirm I'm not picking
There you
Kirk
go,
Cousins
that's
this
it.
year.
Alright, you got some time. Draft's 2 weeks today.
That's it.
It's
2
today.
weeks today. Yeah, it is
There
2
you
weeks today. So yeah, if you've seen there, you saw your draft last year. If you didn't like what you saw, then just don't do the same mistakes again. As simple as that.
And next
Yeah,
week's
look at you,
episode,
Pat.
Todd Gurley, first pick.
That's it.
you might live to regret that.
Yeah.
Unless Viv
We
comes
shall
in.
see, we shall see. Yeah.
Comes in and saves you from that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, might do.
And next week's episode, I say next week, it's probably going to be Wednesday, so in a few days, we have the Division Lining event recap, division review, we now have that, and I will be away and have the schedule reveal ready
That's
for
it.
then as well.
Ollie Burdett, I know you're watching, I know you're here, so it would be nice if you came to the one on Wednesday, because I can't, I'm in Portugal, which is a bit of an issue.
Yeah.
So if you're
guests,
around,
please apply. Yeah.
yeah, please do, because
Not
I'm
around,
not there.
unfortunately.
No, so
Okay.
it's good that we got you today.
Yes.
So.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So, yes, thank you both for coming.
No problem.
We've
Good to be
had
back.
2 days. Hope
Yeah.
you all have a great weekend as well, dear listeners, and we wish you a great week ahead. And we'll be back with you on Wednesday, hopefully. So take care and have a good one.
Obrigado, ciao, ciao, ciao.
Goodbye, everyone.